The pot of hot palm oil splashed across the woman's legs, and her scream tore through the market like a gunshot. People dropped what they were doing. Traders rushed from their stalls. Children froze mid-play. I stood there, barefoot, with my tray of oranges scattered across the dust, and watched my stepmother roll on the ground, clutching her burned skin and screaming my name. Zara, Zara, my leg, Jesus, my leg is burning. Her wrapper was half torn, and smoke rose from the oil that had spilled on her. The same woman who made me hawk from sunrise to sunset now writhed in pain, begging for help. But the strangest part? I wasn't the one who poured the oil. It had poured itself. At least, that's what it looked like. One minute she was shouting at me to hurry up, threatening to beat me if I didn't sell everything before nightfall. The next, the pot she was frying acro with lifted slightly, just slightly, before tipping over right onto her. Everyone saw it, and everyone gasped. Some people whispered it was witchcraft. Others said it was karma. But I knew what it was. It was her doing. Not my stepmother, but my mother, the one she buried behind our house 3 years ago. My knees trembled. My mouth went dry. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Then, out of nowhere, I heard her voice, soft, distant, like wind brushing past a curtain. Zara, don't be afraid. Justice has only begun. I dropped the empty tray and ran. By the time I reached the edge of the dusty road leading to our compound, my heart was pounding so fast I could hear it in my ears. The sun was beginning to set over the rooftops of Ogbomosho town, painting the sky orange and gold. The market noise faded behind me, replaced by the barking of dogs and the croak of frogs waking up near the stream. I didn't stop running until I reached the small mud house we shared, my father, my stepmother, and me. Except my father wasn't there. He rarely was these days. He worked at a construction site 2 towns away and only came home on weekends, sometimes with bruises and the smell of alcohol. That left me alone with her, the woman who had turned my childhood into a nightmare. Her name was Adan, but the people in the village called her Madam Fire. She earned that nickname long before the accident, because she had a temper that could burn a forest. When she first came into our home, I thought maybe she'd love me. Maybe she'd tell me stories before bed or braid my hair like my mother used to. But she never even smiled at me. She treated me like an enemy she couldn't wait to destroy. She made me wake up before sunrise to fetch water. She made me hawk oranges every day after school, if I even got to go to school at all. And when I came home late, tired and dusty, she'd slap me and accuse me of stealing her money. But that day in a market, something changed. As she screamed, clutching her burned legs, I remembered what she said to me that morning before I left. Zara, if you come back with even one unsold orange, I'll show you the real meaning of pain. Don't think your dead mother will save you. I remember her laugh, sharp and cruel, and I remember whispering under my breath, Mama, I wish you could see what she does to me. That wish came true faster than I ever imagined. By the time the neighbors carried her back home, word had already spread across the whole town. Women gathered outside our compound, murmuring and crossing themselves. Children peeped through the fence. When they laid her on the bed, she kept screaming. The burns on her legs were red and raw. No one could understand how the oil spilled that way. The pot was heavy, iron, sitting firm on the fire. It couldn't have tipped without help. But help had come from the other side. That night I sat outside, watching the moon rise over the banana trees. The air was quiet, but my heart wasn't. I could still hear that voice. Soft, gentle, familiar. Zara, don't be afraid. They think you're weak, but I am with you. I swallowed hard. Mama, I whispered. The wind blew again, lifting the corner of my wrapper, and for a second, I caught a faint scent of palm oil and lavender, the exact scent my mother always carried when she was alive. My skin prickled. Tears welled in my eyes. It had to be her. She was back. But why now? And what did she mean? Justice has only begun? I turned to look through the small window into the room where my stepmother lay moaning in pain. My father sat beside her, worried, holding a damp cloth to her burns. He didn't even notice me outside. He never did. I wrapped my arms around myself and whispered again, Mama, if you're really here, please don't leave me. Just then, a cold wind swept past me. The kerosene lamp by the doorway flickered violently, and went out. The darkness swallowed everything. And from inside the house, I heard my stepmother scream again, this time louder than before. The scream echoed through the entire compound, louder than the first time. Neighbors came running, banging on our wooden door and calling out, "Adan, what's happening inside? Zara's stepmother. Are you all right?" My father jumped up, confused and terrified. I saw him grab the lantern and rush toward the room. I followed slowly, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it would burst. When he opened the door, the flame from the lantern wobbled and threw long shadows across the walls. What I saw next made my stomach twist. There, on the wall, was a handprint, but it wasn't made of water or oil or blood. It glowed faintly, as if someone had pressed a burning palm against the mud wall and left light behind. My stepmother's eyes were wide open. Her face was pale, sweat dripping down her temples. She was shaking so badly that the bed rattled beneath her. "Who was in here?" my father demanded. "Zara, did you enter this room?" I shook my head quickly. "No, Papa, I didn't." "Then who left this?" he said, pointing to the glowing handprint. No one answered. Even the wind outside had gone still. For several seconds, we just stood there, frozen. Then the glow began to fade, slowly, until the wall looked normal again. My father rubbed his eyes like a man who doubted what he'd seen. "It's stress," he muttered. Maybe the light from the lantern played tricks. But my stepmother grabbed his arm, trembling. "No, Chike, I saw her. I saw her standing there. Your dead wife." The room went silent. My father's face drained of color. He turned to her sharply. "Don't ever say that again, Adan." "I swear," she cried. She was here, by the door, wearing that same wrapper she died in. She was looking at me with fire in her eyes. Papa's voice hardened. "Enough. Don't bring foolish talk into my house." He stormed out, slamming the door behind him. But I stayed frozen in place, my throat dry, my whole body cold. Because deep down, I knew my stepmother wasn't lying. Mama had been there, and she had seen everything. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat outside by the mango tree, staring at the stars. Crickets chirped. Far away, a baby cried. I hugged my knees, whispering to myself, "Mama, are you really back?" The last time I saw her alive, I was 9. She was lying on the mat, breathing slowly, her skin pale and her voice weak. My father had gone to the city to find money for medicine, and Adan, the new family friend who used to bring food, was the one taking care of her. But one evening, when I came back from fetching water, Mama was gone. They told me she died in her sleep. No one let me see her body. The next day, they buried her behind the compound without a proper ceremony. 2 weeks later, Adan became my stepmother. A few months after that, my life changed forever. She sold Mama's clothes at the market. She threw away the small wooden stool Mama carved for me. She burned Mama's wrapper and told me never to mention her name again. But Mama's spirit hadn't gone anywhere. The next morning, I woke up before dawn. The sky was still purple. I quietly packed the tray of oranges she made me sell daily. The coins from yesterday were still hidden under my mattress. She had taken most of my earnings for weeks, so I started keeping a few secretly for myself. As I stepped out of the house, my stepmother's voice came from the room, weak but full of venom. "Don't think because my leg burns you can rest. Sell everything before sunset. If you bring 1 orange back, I'll use this cane on your back." She tapped the wooden cane beside her for emphasis. I nodded silently. "Yes, Ma." When I turned to leave, she said something that made my blood run cold. "And Zara, tell your dead mother to mind her business." I stopped. The tray trembled in my hands. How did she know I heard Mama's voice? I didn't answer. I just ran. The market was already busy when I got there. Women were spreading mats, men dragging carts, children sweeping in front of their mother's stalls. The smell of roasted corn mixed with fresh fish and dust. I walked through the crowd calling out, "Orange, oh, sweet orange." After a few hours, I sat under a big umbrella near the Acra woman's stall, the same woman whose oil pot had fallen yesterday. Her name was Mama Ife. She was talking to 2 other traders, her legs now bandaged. "I tell you, that woman is wicked," Mama Ife said. "She beats that girl every day. Maybe God decided to punish her himself." The other woman crossed herself. "But to see a pot move by itself?" Hmm, that's not ordinary. I kept my head down, pretending not to hear, though my ears caught every word. Suddenly, I felt a cold breeze. The umbrella above me began to shake slightly, though there was no wind. The oranges on my tray rolled and stopped, forming a small circle around one orange that didn't move. That orange began to roll slowly on its own, straight toward the path leading home. I froze. My breath hitched. "Mama," I whispered. The orange stopped. Then it rolled again, this time faster. People nearby noticed and murmured, thinking it was just wind. But I knew better. Something was calling me back home. I gathered my things and followed the rolling fruit. When I reached the compound, everything was quiet. Too quiet. I dropped my tray at the gate and tiptoed in. My father's bicycle wasn't there. He'd gone back to the city early. From the window, I saw Dan lying on the bed, still. Her eyes were open, staring at the ceiling. Her face was pale, her lips dry. I thought she was dead, but then she blinked, slowly, and smiled. The kind of smile that doesn't belong to the living. "Welcome back, Zura," she whispered. "Your mother was here again." My throat closed up. What did she say? She said she's not done with me. I took a step back. My hand shook. "You're lying." She laughed softly, a broken, hollow sound. "You think she loves you? You think she's protecting you?" "No, my dear. She wants you too." "What?" She leaned closer, her eyes glowing faintly under the dim lantern light. "Don't you know how your mother died?" I froze. "They said she was sick." Her smile widened. "That's what they told you." She raised one trembling hand, pointing toward the window. "Go to her grave tonight, so you'll see for yourself." My heart thudded in my chest. "Why should I believe you?" "Because," she said, her voice cracking, "I didn't kill her alone." The words echoed in my head like a drumbeat I couldn't silence. I didn't kill her alone. I stood there, staring at my stepmother. The weak glow of the lantern painted her face in strange shadows, making her look half dead already. The smell of burnt skin still hung in the air, mixed with something sour, fear. "What do you mean?" I asked quietly, even though every part of me wanted to run. "Who helped you?" Her lips twitched. "Ask your father," she whispered. My heart stopped. "Papa." She laughed softly, and the sound chilled me. "You think he's innocent? You think he didn't know?" I shook my head violently. "You're lying. You always lie." Her smile faded. "Go and ask his hands why they still smell of smoke." Then she turned her face to the wall and said nothing else. I called her name, but she wouldn't speak again. She just lay there, breathing unevenly, eyes open and empty. I ran out of the room, straight into the night air, gasping like I'd been holding my breath for hours. The moon was high above the banana trees, bathing the compound in silver light. I could hear crickets singing and a distant dog barking somewhere near the stream. Papa? Involved in Mama's death? No, it couldn't be. He was strict, yes, sometimes careless, but he loved Mama, didn't he? I sat down by the steps and pressed my palms to my face, shaking. That was when I felt it again, a breeze brushing across my cheek, soft and cool. Then a voice, faint but unmistakable. "Zura." I looked up fast. "Mama, go to where they laid me," the voice said, calm and heavy. "Tonight." The wind died instantly. The compound went silent again. My heart thumped so loudly I was sure anyone nearby could hear it. I didn't want to go there. Not at night. Not alone. But something inside me, something deeper than fear, pushed me to my feet. The path behind our house led into a patch of tall grass, where the soil was uneven and damp. I used to play there as a child, long before it became a grave. Fireflies floated like tiny lamps in the darkness. I reached the spot. The small mound of earth was still there, covered in weeds. The wooden cross Papa built had fallen sideways, half rotted from rain. I knelt beside it and whispered, "Mama, I'm here." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a faint glow rose from the ground, pale blue, like light underwater. I jumped back, heart pounding. The glow brightened, spreading across the grave like someone had lit a lamp beneath the soil. Then I saw her. A mist formed above the mound, slowly shaping into a figure, the outline of a woman in a white wrapper. Her face was gentle, yet sad. "Mama, my child," she said softly. I never wanted you to see me this way. Tears filled my eyes. He said you were sick. She shook her head. No, my daughter. I wasn't sick. I was poisoned. The words hit me like thunder. Poisoned? By who? By her, she said, eyes glowing faintly. But your father knew. He let her do it. I cover my mouth. No, he wouldn't. He did. He chose her over me. She promised him wealth, power, a better life. But every secret buried in darkness will rise again. Her voice became colder. Now, justice begins. The air around me grew icy. The fireflies vanished. My wrapper fluttered though there was no wind. I took a step back. Mama, please. Go inside, she said. Look under the kitchen floor. Why? The truth is waiting there. Before I could say another word, her image faded like smoke. The glow vanished. Darkness swallowed everything again. I ran back to the house, shaking so badly I could barely keep my balance. The door creaked as I pushed it open. The house was quiet, too quiet. I went straight to the kitchen. The floor was made of uneven wooden planks. I lit the small kerosene lamp and placed it on the stool. My hands trembled as I bent down. After a few minutes of searching, I noticed one plank looked newer than the rest. The nails were loose. I pulled them out carefully with a spoon. Beneath it was a small black bag. My breath caught. I opened it slowly and nearly screamed. Inside were two things, a half-burned photograph of my mother and a small brown bottle with dried residue inside. The label was faded, but one word was still visible. Atropine. I didn't know what it meant, but I knew it wasn't good. Suddenly, footsteps echoed behind me. I turned quickly. It was my father. He stood in the doorway, his face dark and unreadable. The lantern light made his eyes glint like glass. What are you doing here, Zura? He asked quietly. My voice trembled. I found something. He stepped forward slowly, his boots heavy on the floorboards. You shouldn't be digging where you don't belong. Papa, I whispered, holding up the bottle. What is this? His jaw tightened. Where did you get that? From under the kitchen. Mama told me to look there. His expression froze. What did you say? She said you knew what happened to her. That you? Before I could finish, his hand shot out and grabbed the bottle from me. Stop talking nonsense, he shouted, smashing against the wall. The glass shattered, releasing a strong, bitter smell. I jumped back, terrified. Papa, please. But he wasn't looking at me anymore. He was staring at the wall and trembling. I followed his gaze. There, glowing faintly in the same spot as before, was another burning handprint. And this time, a faint whisper came from it. Chike, your time is near. My father dropped the lantern. The flame went out. Darkness filled the room again. Then came the sound of a woman's soft laugh from behind him. The sound of that laugh froze every drop of blood in my body. It wasn't loud, just soft like a mother humming behind her child, but carried a chill that made my father stumble backward, clutching the wall. Who's there? He shouted into the darkness. Silence. Then another faint laugh, closer this time. He spun around, eyes wide, chest heaving. Zara, light the lamp. Light it now. My fingers shook so badly that I dropped the matchbox twice before finally striking one. The flame flickered weakly, revealing my father's face. He looked terrified. Not angry, not drunk, just afraid. The kerosene lamp came alive with a small glow, casting trembling light over the walls. That was when I saw it. Behind him, in the reflection of the metal pot hanging on the wall, stood a woman. She wasn't there when I looked directly, but her reflection was clear. A tall figure in a white wrapper, face half-shadowed, eyes glowing faintly like fireflies in the dark. I gasped. Papa! He turned instantly, but there was nothing there. Only the sound of the wind sighing through the open window. He rubbed his forehead hard. It's just stress. It's just the light. There's no one here. But his voice cracked when he said it. I stood frozen, staring at the spot. Papa, she said your time is near. He rounded on me sharply. Shut your mouth. Tears welled up in my eyes. Why, Papa? Why didn't you protect Mama? He glared at me, eyes wild. You don't know what you're talking about. That woman, he stopped himself, biting down on his words. Go to bed, Zura. Now. I'm not a child anymore. I shouted. I deserve to know what happened. He slapped me, so hard my ear rang. The lamp shook. The pot rattled. The window banged open with a loud crash, sending a blast of cold air through the room. Then, the smell of lavender filled the air, the same scent my mother always wore. Papa froze. His eyes darted around. No, no, not again. From the wall, faint whispers began to form. At first, it sounded like wind, then like soft crying. Then a voice, clear as daylight, whispered from everywhere and nowhere. You buried me with lies, Chike. But lies don't stay buried forever. My father stumbled backward, his breathing heavy. Please, please, Ngozi. I didn't want to. She made me. I felt my throat tighten. She? You mean Adan? He looked at me with tears in his eyes. I didn't know she was going to kill her. She said the medicine would only make her sleep for a while. I covered my mouth, shaking. You helped her? He sank to his knees. I thought it was for your mother's peace. I thought she was suffering too much. But Adan, she lied to me. The light flickered again. The room went colder. You watched me die, Mama's voice whispered. You watched, and you did nothing. Papa cried out. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ngozi. Please forgive me. I stood there, frozen between fear and pity. My father, the man I once thought strong, was trembling like a child, begging a ghost for forgiveness. Then for a brief second, I saw her, Mama, standing near the door, her wrapper flowing softly like mist. Her eyes weren't angry this time. They were sad, full of sorrow. Zara, she said, turning to me, truth must rise before peace. She reached out her hand, but before I could move, the lamp burst, the glass shattered, and everything went black. Papa screamed. I screamed too. Then I heard footsteps, hurried, heavy, someone running outside the compound. I dashed toward the door. The moonlight revealed my stepmother hobbling away, one leg still bandaged, carrying a small bag. Adan, I shouted. Stop, but she didn't. She ran faster than I'd ever seen her move, vanishing down the path toward the forest road. My father stumbled out behind me, gasping for breath. She's going to the shrine. The shrine. He nodded weakly. To the Dibia, she'll try to stop your mother's spirit. I felt a surge of anger I didn't recognize before. We have to follow her. No, Zara, but I was already running. The night was deep and heavy, the air thick with the smell of wet soil. The road to the shrine twisted through tall trees, their branches forming strange shapes against the moon. I could hear insects buzzing and distant drums from a nearby village festival. Adan's shadow moved ahead of me, limping but determined. I followed quietly until she reached a small clearing. There an old man stood waiting, the village Dibia. His eyes were pale white, his chest bare, and in his hand was a calabash filled with red liquid. Why do you come here, Adan? He asked in a deep, tired voice. She felt her knees, crying. Baba, help me. She won't stop haunting me. She's burning my skin, whispering in my dreams. The Dibia shook his head. You were warned. You cannot rest after taking what wasn't yours. I'll pay anything, she begged. Just make her go away. He looked into the calabash and said something in a language I didn't understand. Then he looked up again, eyes hard. You spilled innocent blood. The spirit of Ngozi cannot be silenced until justice walks in daylight. Adan's voice cracked. Then what must I do? Confess, he said simply, before all who heard your lies. Only the truth can release her spirit. She stared at him, horrified. You want me to confess? Never. I'd rather die. The Dibia's expression didn't change. Then die you shall. Before she could move, the calabash in his hand cracked open by itself, like something inside wanted out. Red liquid spilled over the ground, forming a strange symbol that glowed faintly in the moonlight. Adan screamed and scrambled backward. No, no! Her body began to shake violently. The ground beneath her trembled. A cold wind howled through the trees. I hid behind a tree, heart racing, watching the earth open slightly under her feet. The Dibia raised his hand. Spirit of Ngozi, take what is yours. Adan screamed one last time, a sound so sharp it felt like it cut through my bones, and then the wind stopped. Silence. When the dust cleared, the spot where she knelt was empty. Only her wrapper lay there, fluttering in the breeze. The Dibia turned slowly toward where I was hiding. His voice was calm but heavy. "Child of Ngozi," he said, "your mother rests now, but her truth will shake the living." Then he looked past me, as if seeing something I couldn't. "Your father has not yet faced what he buried." My stomach twisted. "What do you mean?" He didn't answer. He just walked back into the forest and disappeared. I picked up Adan's wrapper and stared at it, trembling. The air felt strange, lighter yet colder. When I got back home, dawn was breaking. My father was sitting on the doorstep, his face pale, his hands covered in dirt. "What happened?" I asked quietly. He looked up at me, eyes hollow. "Zara," he whispered, "I dug her grave last night." My heart stopped. "Whose grave?" He swallowed hard. "Your mother's." But the coffin was empty. If you've been following this story till now, what do you think happened to Zara's mother's body? Do you believe her spirit truly returned, or was it something else entirely? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to read them all. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends so more people can join in this mystery. The words hit me harder than any slap my stepmother ever gave me. My father's lips trembled, his hands still covered with dirt. His eyes were red and swollen, like a man who hadn't slept in days. I stared at him in shock. "Papa, what do you mean the coffin was empty?" He looked away, breathing hard. I wanted to see for myself. After all these years, I thought maybe I was imagining her voice. But when I opened the ground, he swallowed hard, shaking his head. "Zara, your mother's body wasn't there." For a long time, neither of us spoke. The morning breeze stirred the dry leaves around us. Chickens scratched near the fence. Somewhere in the distance, a cock crowed. But everything felt distant, unreal. "Are you saying she rose from the grave?" I whispered. He rubbed his face. "I don't know what to believe anymore. Maybe her spirit never rested because of what we did." I wanted to scream at him, to say you deserve this, but my tongue felt heavy. The same woman who once laughed while I cried was gone, swallowed by the earth itself. But now, the one person who should have protected me was saying the woman I loved most had vanished from her own grave. Something deep inside me said it wasn't over. That day passed slowly. My father didn't go to work. He sat under the mango tree all morning, staring at nothing. People in the village had started talking already. They said Adan was missing, that maybe her sins had caught up with her. Some said she ran away. Others whispered that the gods dragged her into the ground. By evening, our compound was filled with murmurs. Neighbors came to check on us, but I knew they came to hear gossip. I sat on the veranda, picking at my tray of unsold oranges, pretending not to listen. "Have you heard?" one woman said. "The Dibia said the spirit of Ngozi is walking again." Another replied. "I heard he warned her husband to confess before the seventh night, or something terrible will happen." I looked at Papa from the corner of my eye. He didn't even blink. That night, he finally spoke again. "Zara," he said quietly, "I want to tell you everything." I looked up from the mat where I was sitting. "Everything," he nodded, staring at the floor. "The truth about your mother." I sat closer, my heart pounding. He took a deep breath. "When your mother fell sick, I was desperate. The doctor said she needed an operation, but I didn't have the money. That's when Adan came. She was a trader, wealthy, independent. She said she could help." He sighed. "I didn't know then that she was jealous of your mother. She wanted what Ngozi had, me, our home, our peace. She brought a small bottle and said it was medicine from herbalist. I believed her. I gave it to your mother myself." My stomach churned. "The bottle from the kitchen?" He nodded slowly. "Yes. After she drank it, she started coughing blood. I called Adan, and she pretended to help. But when I came back from fetching water, she was gone, and your mother had stopped breathing." He paused, rubbing his temples. "I buried her quickly, afraid people would blame me. Adan stayed behind, comforting me, pretending to mourn. 6 months later, she became my wife. I couldn't hold it in anymore. So you killed Mama." His face crumpled. "I didn't know, Za. I didn't know." I stood up, shaking. "You didn't know? You gave her poison. You buried her like a thief. You watched that woman destroy everything, and you did nothing." Tears streamed down my face as I ran into the night, ignoring his voice calling after me. I didn't know where I was going. The moon guided my steps as I ran toward the old church at the edge of the village, the one Mama used to attend before she fell ill. The church was small and wooden, half broken, but still standing. I pushed the creaky door open and stepped inside. The air was cold and dusty. A few candles burned faintly near the altar. I knelt in front of the cross. Mama, if you can hear me, please tell me what to do. For a while, nothing happened. Then one candle flickered, once, twice, and went out. A soft voice filled the silence. You know the truth now, my child. But truth is not the end. It's the beginning. I froze. Mama, your father's soul is chained by guilt. He must speak before the people, or the curse will claim him too. I swallowed hard. What curse? The curse of silence. Suddenly, the wooden cross above the altar cracked in two. The sound echoed through the church like thunder. I jumped up, terrified. The candle flames danced wildly, even though there was no wind. Then I saw something move in the shadow, the outline of a woman's face on the wall, shimmering faintly. Go home, Zura. Time is short. And then she was gone. I ran all the way back home, my feet dusty, my chest burning. I found my father still sitting on the veranda, his head in his hands. Papa, I shouted. You have to tell everyone what you did. If you don't. He looked up slowly. She came to you too, didn't she? Yes, I said, panting. She said if you don't confess, you'll die. He sighed, shaking his head. Already tried, Zura. No one will believe me. They think I'm cursed. Then let them think it. I cried. You have to say it out loud. You have to free her. He stood up, his shadow long and thin against the moonlight. It's too late. What do you mean? He looked toward the backyard. It's been 7 days. Before I could ask what he meant, a loud crash came from inside the house, the sound of plates falling and shattering. We rushed in. The kitchen door had blown open. The air was freezing cold, and on the wall, written in ashes, were 3 words. I am waiting. Papa's eyes widened in horror. Ngozi, Mama wants peace, I whispered. But you're still hiding something. He didn't answer. He just collapsed to his knees, trembling. Papa! He looked up slowly, tears streaming down his face. Zara, there's something else I never told you. What? The night before she died, your mother was pregnant. I froze. My lips parted, but no sound came out. Pregnant? He nodded. She was carrying your little brother. The room felt like it was spinning. I grabbed the edge of the table for balance. And Adan knew? Yes, he whispered. That's why she killed her. The lamp beside us flickered again. The air grew heavy. And then, faintly from outside, we heard a baby crying, a sound that didn't belong to any living child. We looked at each other in horror. Papa whispered, "It's begun." The cry echoed through the night, soft at first, like a newborn's whimper, then louder, sharper, and full of sorrow. It came from the backyard, from the direction of my mother's grave. I froze, clutching Papa's arm. Did you hear that? He nodded slowly, face pale as chalk. Yes, I did. The sound came again, this time longer, like a baby wailing for milk. I could feel the hair on my neck stand up. Every instinct in me screamed to run, but my legs wouldn't move. Papa stood shakily, grabbing the lantern. Stay here, Zra. No, I whispered, shaking my head. I'm not staying alone. He hesitated, then nodded. Together, we stepped out into the cold night. The moon hung high above the mango trees, casting pale light across the compound. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth. The crying continued, louder now, coming from the patch of ground where Mama had been buried. Each step toward it felt heavier than the last. When we reached the grave, Papa lifted the lantern. The light flickered over the mound. At first, everything looked normal. The soil was untouched. But then, right before our eyes, the ground began to move. It shifted softly, as though something beneath was breathing. Papa stumbled back. No, this can't be happening. The sound of a baby's cry changed, now mixed with a woman's whisper. You buried more than me, Chaik. You buried innocence. The earth cracked open slightly, and a faint blue glow seeped through. I screamed, Mama! Papa fell to his knees, crying. Ngozi, please. Forgive me. I didn't know. The wind picked up, swirling dust around us. The lantern flickered violently, throwing shadows that danced like restless spirits. From within the glow, a small, translucent figure appeared, a baby, tiny and shining like glass. Its eyes were closed, its fists curled tight. It floated above the grave for a second, then faded into mist. The crying stopped. For a long time, neither of us spoke. The only sound was the whisper of the wind and the pounding of my heart. Then a soft voice, calm and sorrowful, broke the silence. Truth has spoken, but repentance must be seen. Papa covered his face with both hands. What do you want from me? Confession before the sun, the voice replied. Only then shall peace return. And then the glow disappeared completely. The next morning, word spread fast. People in the village said they heard strange sounds from our compound during the night. Some claimed they saw light rising from the ground. Others swore they heard a baby cry. By noon, curious villagers had gathered by our gate, whispering and pointing. Papa didn't speak a word. He just sat in front of the house, staring at the ground. I brought him water, but he didn't drink. He just muttered to himself, over and over. Confession before the sun, confession before the sun. When I couldn't bear it anymore, I knelt in front of him. Papa, Mama doesn't want to destroy you. She wants you to set things right. Go to the people. Tell them what happened. He looked at me with empty eyes. They won't listen, Zura. They'll say I'm mad. Then let them, I said fiercely. But if you don't speak, Mama's spirit will never rest. And neither will yours. He blinked, tears forming. Then slowly he nodded. That was the first time I'd seen hope flicker in his eyes. By evening, the village square was crowded. Word had spread that Chaik, the mason, wanted to speak publicly. People gathered, women with baskets, men returning from work. Even the Dibia stood silently at the back. The air was tense. Papa stood in the center, his voice trembling as he began. My people, he said, for years I have lived with guilt. I wronged a woman who gave me nothing but love. My wife, Ngozi, she didn't die of sickness. She was poisoned. Gasps filled the air. He continued. I gave her the drink with my own hands. I thought it would help her, but it took her life. The woman I married after, Adan, lied to me, used me, and destroyed what little good was left in me. Someone in the crowd shouted. So it's true then? Her spirit is haunting you. Papa's voice cracked. Yes, and she has every right. But I'm here today to beg forgiveness from her spirit, from my daughter, and from all of you who believe my lies. The crowd murmured. Some crossed themselves. Others just watched in silence. Papa raised his hands toward the sky. If she can hear me, let her know that I am sorry. I release every secret I buried. I confess before the sun, as she commanded. He dropped to his knees, sobbing. For a few seconds, everything was still. Then, the wind began to blow. A strange calm swept through the square. The sun, low on the horizon, cast golden light across Papa's face. A faint shimmer appeared in the air behind him. It grew brighter, taking the shape of a woman in white. Her eyes were gentle, her smile soft. People gasped and stepped back. Mama, I whispered. She looked at Papa for a long moment. Then, slowly, she raised her hand, placing it on his head. The crowd fell silent. Papa trembled, tears streaming down his face. Ngozi, your words have freed us both. Her voice echoed softly. A warm light surrounded him, gentle and golden. Then she turned to me. Zara, my child, you carry my strength. Don't let pain make you bitter. Use truth as your weapon, always. I nodded, crying silently. She smiled one last time. The living must live. Then she faded into the sunlight. People began to murmur prayers. Some knelt. Others just wept silently. Papa stood slowly, his face wet with tears but strangely peaceful. For the first time in years, he looked lighter, like a man who had finally laid down a heavy burden. He took my hand. Zara, thank you. I smiled faintly. She forgave you, Papa. That's all she wanted. He nodded slowly. Then maybe now, we can start again. But before we could take a single step home, he gasped suddenly and clutched his chest. Papa! I cried. He staggered forward, coughing. Blood spilled from his mouth. The villagers rushed toward us, shouting. He looked up at me, eyes wide and full of love. "Tell her, I'm coming." Then he collapsed. I fell to my knees beside him, shaking him, crying his name. But it was too late. His body was still. The same wind that had carried Mama's voice brushed past again, soft, tender. He has found peace. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, I saw it. Two faint lights, rising together into the darkening sky, side by side. My parents, together at last. But peace never stays for long. That night, as I lay on the mat in our empty house, I heard something outside, the sound of footsteps. Slow, careful, familiar. I rose quietly and peeked through the window. There, standing under the mango tree, was a woman. She wore a dance wrapper, and she was smiling. The woman stood under the mango tree, her wrapper fluttering in the wind, her shadow stretching across the dusty compound. It was the same wrapper Adan used to wear, the red and yellow one she never left behind. But Adan was gone. I had seen the earth swallow her. My heart hammered in my chest. "Who's there?" I called, voice trembling. No answer. The woman tilted her head slightly, her eyes catching the moonlight. For a split second, I saw her face clearly, half burned, half beautiful. "Adan!" I gasped and stumbled backward. "No, you're dead. I saw it." She smiled faintly, her voice soft but chilling. "Did you really think the ground could hold me?" The night breeze rustled the leaves above. The mangoes swayed. "What do you want?" I whispered. She stepped closer, her bare feet leaving no prints on the dusty ground. "Peace. The same peace your mother stole from me." I froze. "My mother didn't steal anything. You killed her." Her eyes glowed faintly. "You think you know the truth, little girl? You only know half of it." My throat tightened. "What do you mean?" She smiled, an awful twisted smile. "Ask yourself why your mother's body was never found." Before I could respond, the wind picked up suddenly, blowing sand into my eyes. When I looked again, she was gone. Only the scent of palm oil and smoke remained. I didn't sleep that night. Every sound made me jump. The chirping of crickets, the rustle of leaves, even the crack of wood in the fire pit. Her words wouldn't leave my head. "Ask yourself why your mother's body was never found." By morning, I was exhausted, but I couldn't sit still. I needed answers. I went straight to the Dibia, the old man who had told Adan to confess. He lived near the stream, in a mud hut surrounded by palm fronds and old charms. When I arrived, he was sitting outside, grinding herbs. He didn't look surprised to see me. "You've seen her," he said quietly. I nodded. "She came back. She said my mother isn't innocent." He sighed deeply. "The dead are restless when the living refuse to understand." "What does that mean?" I asked, my voice breaking. He looked up, his eyes milky but sharp. "Your mother's spirit was wronged, yes. But revenge and peace cannot live in the same body. If her body was never found, it means her soul was never buried whole." I frowned. "I don't understand." He picked up a small gourd and poured a handful of white powder onto the ground. "Part of her, something vital, was taken before she died. That is what binds Adan's spirit to hers." "Taken?" I whispered. "By who?" He looked straight at me. "By your father." My stomach twisted. "No, he's dead. He confessed. Mama forgave him." The Dibia shook his head slowly. "He confessed only what his mouth could bear, but his hands did more." I shook my head, tears burning my eyes. "You're lying. Papa loved her." He looked past me toward the trees. "Love can be corrupted by fear." He was tricked into a ritual, one that bound his soul and Adan's together. That is why neither of them can rest. The curse will pass to you unless the binding is broken. "Me?" I whispered. He nodded gravely. "You are the blood of both their guilt and their innocence. You must set them free." My legs trembled. "Ow! Bring me something that belonged to each of them," he said. "The wrapper your mother wore before she died, and something your stepmother held when she lived." I swallowed hard. And then he poured water over the white powder, which began to fizz softly. "Then the truth will choose its side." That evening, I went through the house, searching. The air felt heavy, like the house itself was holding its breath. In Mama's old wooden chest, I found it, a piece of her wrapper blue with faded white flowers. I pressed it to my face and inhaled. It still smelled faintly of lavender. Then, I went to Adan's room. Her things were still there. The broken mirror, the perfume bottle, the walking stick she used after the burn. But beside her bed, I found something else. A small, black notebook. Curiosity burned through my fear. I opened it. The pages were filled with strange writings, symbols, names, and dates. Then, near the end, I saw something that made me freeze. Ngozi refused to complete the ritual. She betrayed me. He still loves her. I will bind her spirit before dawn. The next line was even worse. If I cannot have his love, no one will. Not even death. I dropped the notebook, my hands shaking. Adan hadn't just poisoned Mama. She'd used a ritual to trap her soul. That was why Mama couldn't rest. That was why her body vanished. And that was why Adan came back. She wasn't after revenge. She wanted release. As I left the room, I felt the air grow colder. The lamp flickered. The window creaked open by itself. I turned slowly. There she was again, Adan, standing by the window, eyes full of tears this time. "You found it," she whispered. I froze. "Why did you do it?" Her lips trembled. "I loved him, but your mother took everything from me. I only wanted him to see me, to love me. But the ritual, it demanded her soul. I didn't know it would bind mine too." She stepped closer. Her voice softened. "Help me, Zara. Help us all." I shook my head. "You hurt her. You hurt Papa." "I know," she said, weeping, "and I've paid for it every night since. Please go to the Dibia before sunset tomorrow. Take the 2 items. End this." Before I could respond, she began to fade, her image melting into the air like smoke. "Adan," I cried. Her voice lingered faintly. "If you fail, she'll never stop calling." And then she was gone. I clutched the 2 pieces of cloth, the blue wrapper and Adan's scarf, and ran out into the night. The sky was already turning dark. Thunder rumbled in the distance. I reached the Dibia's hut, breathless. "I have them," I cried, holding out both items. He nodded solemnly and placed them in a clay pot. "This must be done tonight. When the first drop of rain touches the earth, both spirits will rise, and only the truth-bearer can command them." "The truth-bearer?" I asked. He looked at me, his voice grave. "You." Before I could speak, a flash of lightning split the sky. Thunder roared. The wind howled through the trees. And from the direction of our house, I heard it again, Mama's voice crying my name. "Zara, hurry." The Dibia's eyes widened. "It has begun." He handed me the clay pot. "Go, child. Face them both, or you'll lose them forever." I turned toward the storm, clutching the pot to my chest. Rain began to fall, hard and cold, soaking me to the bone. Each step toward home felt heavier than the last. The wind screamed around me. The sky flashed. When I reached the compound, both figures were already there. Mama in white, glowing softly, and Adan, dark and burning, her eyes full of tears. They stood facing each other under the mango tree. And between them was Papa, alive. Lightning tore across the night sky, splitting it into 1,000 white veins. Rain poured down in heavy sheets, drenching everything, the ground, the trees, and the 3 figures standing beneath the mango tree. Mama in white, Adan in black, and Papa, alive, trembling, his eyes wide and lost. I froze in the rain, clutching the clay pot against my chest. "Papa," I whispered. He turned toward me slowly. "Zara." His voice was weak, hollow. I tried to rest, but she wouldn't let me. I looked at Adan, her burned face glistening under the storm. She stood perfectly still, her eyes locked on Mama. "You shouldn't have come back," Mama said quietly, her voice like thunder muffled in the clouds. "Your soul was condemned the moment you touched what wasn't yours." Adan shook her head, tears mixing with the rain. "I never wanted to steal your life, Ngozi. Only his heart." Papa stepped forward, his expression twisted with grief. "Stop this. Both of you. Haven't you done enough to each other?" Mama's gaze turned to him, calm but cold. "You speak of enough? You buried me without truth. You broke your oath and let her bind my soul." Papa fell to his knees, hands clutching the mud. "I confess before the sun, Ngozi. I did what you asked. Her voice grew louder, the wind swirling around her. You confess your crime, but not your fear. Then she turned to me. Zara, the pot. Now. I lifted the clay pot with shaking hands. The Dibia's words echoed in my mind. Only the truth-bearer can command them. What do I do? I cried. Mama's voice thundered. Break it. But before I could move, Adan shouted, Don't. I froze. Don't you understand? She yelled through the rain. That pot doesn't set us free. It binds us forever. He lied to you. The Dibia? I asked, my voice cracking. She nodded. He served me once. He helped me trap her soul. If you break that pot, you'll trap all three of us together and take our curse as your own. Lightning flashed, illuminating all three faces. My mother's sorrow, Adan's desperation, my father's guilt. I didn't know who to believe. Zara, Mama said softly, stepping closer. Trust me, my child. Break it, and we'll be free. Adan shook her head wildly. She's not your mother anymore. That thing wears her face, but it's not her soul. Look at her eyes. I looked. For a split second, I saw something strange. Her eyes flickered, and inside the glow, there was fire. Real fire. Mama, I whispered. Is it really you? She smiled faintly. Yes, my love. But her voice changed. Just slightly. Darker. Papa looked up, his face pale. Zara, listen to me. This isn't the same spirit that forgave me. It's something else. Rain beat harder against my face. My heart thudded painfully. Then what do? Papa struggled to his feet. Give me the pot. No. Both women shouted at once. The sound shook the ground. The mango tree branches bent low, as if afraid to break. A gust of wind snatched the pot from my hands. It flew into the air and landed between them, cracking slightly but not breaking. Steam hissed from the ground. Both spirits stepped closer, light and darkness circling each other like two storms about to collide. Adan raised her hand. Zara, if you destroy that pot, you'll lose your soul. But if you seal it, we'll all vanish. Forever. Mama's voice thundered. Don't listen to her. She wants to drag you with her. I dropped to my knees, crying. I just want peace. I just want this to end. Papa grabbed my shoulder. Zara, look at me. Whatever you do, do it with your heart. The truth isn't theirs. It's yours now. The lightning flashed again, this time striking the mango tree directly. The shock threw us all backward. The pot rolled toward me, cracked wide open. Inside it burned a small blue flame, beautiful, strange, alive. I reached out slowly. The flame didn't burn. It hummed, whispering faintly. Choose. That single word came from both voices at once, my mother's and Adan's. Choose what? I cried. Whose truth shall live? Rain washed mud over my legs. The ground trembled. My father screamed, clutching his head. The two women stepped forward, their forms flickering between solid and smoke. Adan whispered, End it, child. Bind us and walk away free. Mama whispered, Free us and carry our peace. I looked from one to the other, one glowing white, the other dark and broken. Then I looked down at the flame. I thought of Mama's kindness, her laughter, the way she used to sing to me when I was small. Then I thought of Adan's cruelty, her anger, the beatings, the hunger. But I also remembered the tears in her eyes when she begged me for help. Maybe both of them had suffered. Maybe both deserved peace. I took a deep breath, lifted the pot high above my head, and whispered, Let truth decide. Then I smashed it. The flame exploded upward, bright and blinding. The entire ground shook. The tree cracked. I was thrown backward into the mud. When I opened my eyes, everything was quiet. The rain had stopped. The air smelled of smoke and wet leaves. Both women were gone. Only Papa remained, lying still beside the tree. I crawled to him, shaking his shoulder. Papa! His chest rose weakly. He was alive, but barely. He opened his eyes, looked at me, and whispered, You did it. Tears ran down my cheeks. Are they gone? He nodded faintly. Yes, both. You freed them both. Then he closed his eyes, and for a moment, I thought he'd stopped breathing. But then, something strange happened. The clouds above us parted slightly, and from the faint sunlight that broke through, I saw them. Two silhouettes, one bright, one dark, rising together into the sky, holding hands. Mama and Adan. Together. I knelt in the mud, crying silently. The storm had passed, but the air still hummed with energy, like the world itself had taken a deep breath of relief. I looked at Papa. He was breathing again, slowly, peacefully. For the first time in years, I felt calm. Until, from behind the tree, a faint glow appeared. A shape, small, fragile, a baby, the same glowing infant I saw before, this time smiling. It floated between us, cooing softly, before rising toward the sky to join the two lights above. I smiled through my tears. Goodbye, Mama. Goodbye, Adan. But just as the lights disappeared, a whisper brushed my ear, soft, almost too faint to hear. The living must still pay the living. I froze. What? The ground beneath me shifted slightly, and when I looked down, I saw something buried half in the mud. A silver necklace, Adan's. But engraved on the back were new words that hadn't been there before. I will return. What do you think? Was Adan truly set free, or did Zara unknowingly awaken something darker? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and tell us where you're watching from. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story so more people can join this mysterious folktale journey. The next morning, the village woke to an uneasy calm. The storm had washed everything clean, the dust, the blood, the footprints, but not the fear. People whispered about strange lights they'd seen above our compound. Some said the gods had finally taken their due. Others said evil had been buried again, waiting for another fool to awaken it. I sat on the veranda, staring at the silver necklace in my hand. The engraving, "I will return," glinted faintly in the sun. I didn't tell Pop about it. He was still too weak to move. The dibia came to the compound that morning, leaning heavily on his staff. He stood by the mango tree for a long while, eyes closed, listening to something only he could hear. Then he turned to me. "You did what was needed," he said quietly. "Two restless spirits have found peace." I looked at him carefully. "Then why did the ground move again after they were gone?" He smiled faintly, his eyes unreadable. "The earth remembers every step that treads upon it, my child. Some memories are not curses. They are warnings." I held out the necklace. This was buried under the tree. It wasn't there before. His eyes narrowed slightly. "Keep it safe. One day, when the living forget the dead, they'll need to remember again." Then he turned and walked away, his staff tapping the wet ground rhythmically until he disappeared beyond the gate. For the next few days, things were quiet, too quiet. Papa got better, though he barely spoke. He would sit under the tree from sunrise till sunset, sometimes humming the song Mama used to sing. At night, I'd wake up and find him whispering her name, like a prayer. The villagers slowly stopped talking about us. Life moved on, but peace, I learned, has a strange sound, the sound of something holding its breath, waiting. A week later, I went to the market to sell oranges again. The air was bright, full of chatter. Women shouted prices, goats bleated, and the smell of roasted corn filled the air. For the first time in years, I felt almost normal. "Sarah," someone called from across the stall. It was Mama Ife, the acre seller whose oil had spilled on Adan months ago. Her legs had healed, though she now walked with a slight limp. "You're looking fresh, my daughter," she said warmly. "God finally smiled on you." I smiled faintly. "Yes, Ma." She lowered her voice. "And your father?" "He's better. He's trying," I said quietly. She nodded, then looked around before leaning closer. "They say strange things are happening again. The Dibia's hut caught fire last night, but when people went there this morning, everything was fine, like it never burned." I frowned. "That's strange." She crossed herself. "I don't like strange, Joe. Be careful, my child." I nodded and continued selling, but her words clung to me like smoke. That evening, when I returned home, the first thing I noticed was that the compound felt different. The air was heavy, thick with the smell of wet soil, though it hadn't rained. "Papa," I called. No answer. The front door was open. I stepped inside slowly. The house was dim, lit only by the orange glow of the setting sun filtering through the window. Papa was sitting at the table, staring at something. "Papa." He looked up. His face was pale, his eyes strange. Where did you get that necklace? I froze. My hand instinctively went to my pocket. I found it by the tree. He stood up suddenly, the chair scraping across the floor. You should have buried it, Zara. Why didn't you bury it? Because I didn't think. He slammed his fist on the table. You should have buried it. I took a step back, frightened. Papa, what's happening? He pressed his hands to his head, shaking it violently. The dreams came back. Every night. She calls my name. I thought it was over, but it's not. Adan is not gone. My chest tightened. What did she say? He looked up slowly, his eyes wild. She said she's waiting for me, under the mango tree. That night, I couldn't sleep. The house creaked in the wind. Papa tossed and turned, mumbling in his sleep. At one point, he sat up suddenly and said, She's here, then lay back down as if nothing happened. Around midnight, the lamp went out, and then I heard it. Soft footsteps outside the window. I held my breath and peered through the curtain. There was someone standing under the mango tree. Again. But this time, it wasn't a spirit's glow. It was a real person. A woman in a red wrapper. She wasn't floating. She was walking, slowly, deliberately, her feet leaving prints in the wet soil. I grabbed Papa's arm. Wake up. He stirred, groggy. What? She's here again. I whispered urgently. He got up fast and looked out the window. His face drained of color. No, he breathed. It can't be. Without another word, he grabbed the old lantern and ran outside. I followed close behind, my heart pounding. The woman turned toward us, and for the first time, I saw her face clearly. It wasn't Adan. It was a stranger, tall, dark-skinned, her hair wrapped in a red scarf, her eyes bright and unblinking. Who are you? Papa shouted. The woman smiled faintly. My name is Chinyur. Her voice was calm, almost melodic. I came for what belongs to me. Papa frowned. What are you talking about? She pointed at me. The necklace. I instinctively stepped back. How do you know about this? She smiled again. Because it was mine, long before Adan ever wore it. My blood ran cold. What do you mean? She walked closer, her eyes glinting. You think this story began with your stepmother? No, child. It began generations before her. That necklace was the first binding, the first curse, passed from woman to woman. Papa shook his head. No, that can't be true. She tilted her head slightly. Then why do you think every woman who wore it died in pain? The wind howled through the trees. I clutched the necklace tighter. Give it to me, she said softly, or your blood will carry its promise. Papa stepped in front of me. You're not taking my daughter anywhere. The woman's smile faded. Her eyes turned pitch black. Then she'll come willingly. Before we could move, the ground shook violently. The mango tree groaned as if something deep beneath it was waking again. I screamed. Papa grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the house. The woman's voice followed us like thunder. You cannot break what was never finished. We slammed the door shut and pushed the wooden bar across it. Papa fell to the floor, panting. Zara, listen to me carefully. If anything happens to me, you must find the river priestess in Enugu. She's the only one who can end this. I shook my head, crying. I can't leave you. He grabbed my shoulders. You must. This is bigger than us now. Bigger than your mother, Adan, or me. The ground rumbled again. Dust fell from the ceiling. The windows rattled. And from outside, a voice screamed, half woman, half something else. Zara, you carry my blood. I pressed my hands over my ears, trembling. Papa, what does she mean? He whispered, voice breaking. Because she's your grandmother. The words shattered my mind like glass. I stared at my father, my mouth open, rainwater and tears mixing on my face. What did you just say? I whispered. He didn't look at me. His chest heaved, his lips trembling. That woman out there, Chinyur, she's your mother's mother. Your grandmother. But she's not like us. She's from the river line. The floor creaked as thunder cracked overhead. The mango tree groaned again, and the sound of her voice drifted through the cracks in the wooden wall, soft, ancient, and angry. You broke the covenant, Chike. Now the river claims what it owns. Papa clutched his chest, gasping. Zara, listen to me. Your mother was born of water. Her family served the river spirit for generations. When she married me, she turned away from them. She chose land, not water. That was her sin. I blinked through tears. You mean Mama was part spirit? He nodded slowly. Yes. The necklace, Chinyer's necklace, was the bond that kept her tied to the river. When she died, Adan used it for a ritual, thinking it would bring her power. But all she did was open the gate that was never meant to be opened. The door suddenly shuddered, like something massive had hit it. Papa fell to his knees, clutching the lantern. Zara, you're the blood of both worlds now. The river will come for you too. No, I said, shaking my head, stepping back. I didn't ask for this. Blood doesn't ask, the voice whispered through the cracks. It remembers. Then the door flew open with a deafening crash. Wind and water burst into the room together, swirling violently like a storm. My father was thrown backward into the wall. I screamed, holding onto the table for balance. Through the chaos, she appeared, Chinyer. Her feet didn't touch the ground. Her hair floated as if she were underwater. Her eyes glowed a deep blue, the color of ocean depths. Child of Ngozi, she said, her voice calm but terrible. The river has waited too long. Your mother's debt remains unpaid. I stood shaking, clutching the necklace to my chest. I don't owe you anything. She smiled sadly. You owe me your blood. 4 generations, your line has hidden from the river. Now the river reclaims its own. Papa pushed himself up weakly. Please, Chinyer, take me instead. She turned her gaze on him. You are already marked for the earth. It is not your choice to give. He staggered forward, holding his hands out. Then I'll fight you myself. Lightning flashed again, and suddenly he was lifted off the ground. The air around him rippled like water. I screamed, stop, please. But the more I screamed, the harder the wind blew. The house shook violently, plates falling from shelves, with splintering. Then I remembered what the Dibia had said. Only the truth-bearer can command them. I was the truth-bearer. This was my fight. I ran to the table where the clay pot's ashes still lay. I scooped some in my hand and shouted into the wind, if I carry both their blood, then I carry both their power. The wind stopped for a second. Even Chinyer blinked in surprise. I took a deep breath, lifted the ashes toward the storm, and cried, River or earth? I choose neither. I choose peace. The ashes glowed, spinning around me in circles of blue and gold light. You dare reject your inheritance? Chinyer hissed. I'm not rejecting it. I shouted. I'm ending it. Her eyes flashed like lightning. Then let the river judge you. The ground beneath us cracked open, and water gushed out, rising like a whirlpool around the mango tree. I grabbed the necklace and threw it straight into the current. A bright flash blinded me. The necklace exploded into shards of light that swirled upward, surrounding Chinyer. She screamed, a sound that wasn't pain but release. The light spread wider, reaching every corner of the compound. The mango tree burst into bloom, green leaves and white flowers glowing under the storm. And then silence. When I opened my eyes, the rain had stopped. The house was still. The air smelled of fresh water and jasmine. Papa lay on the floor, breathing weakly but alive. I crawled to him. Papa. He opened his eyes slowly and smiled faintly. You did it. What happened? I whispered. He looked past me toward the tree. She's gone. They're all gone. I turned. The mango tree stood taller than ever, its branches heavy with fruit. Beneath it, the ground shimmered faintly, like a reflection of a river under sunlight. And there, sitting among the roots, was a small clay pot, whole again. I crawled to it slowly and lifted the lid. Inside was water, clear and calm, and on the surface floated a single white flower. I whispered, Mama. A soft breeze brushed my cheek, warm and tender. You are the bridge now, Zara, her voice whispered. Guard the balance. The next morning, the sky was golden. Birds sang again. The villagers came, asking what happened. Papa said nothing, only that the storm had passed. But deep inside, I knew it wasn't just a storm. It was the end of something ancient, and the beginning of something new. Days later, I returned to the mango tree. The clay pot was still there, filled with fresh water that never seemed to dry up. Every morning, it shimmered when the sun touched it. People started calling it the Well of Peace. They said whoever drank from it would never know betrayal. As for me, I stopped hawking oranges. I went back to school, and Papa rebuilt the house. Life finally became quiet. But sometimes at night, I sit under that same mango tree and listen to the wind. And if the night is very still, I can hear them, 3 voices, faint and soft, singing together in the distance. Mama, Adan, and Chinyur. So, what do you think really happened? Was the curse finally broken? Or did Zara just become its new keeper? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this powerful African folktale, make sure you like, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves deep, emotional stories rooted in mystery, family, and redemption. Thank you for watching. My wicked stepmother sent me hawking every day, not knowing. Till our next story. Remember, in Africa, every shadow has a story, and every story hides a truth.